Good afternoon. Let's call this meeting to order. This is the second of two today. And again, thank you. This is a great turnout. This is what we like to see. People come out and they will be interesting. It'll be very informational. And as I said in the prior meeting, Gulf County is very lucky county because former Commissioner Yeager now represents Gulf County, and he is the chair of the 8 counties. And former Commissioner Yeager, Mr. Yeager, will take over and take the lead today. And Warren, if you would like to, if you want to turn around and face the people, you just spin that around, because these are the ones out here that know. We've got a little more. Whatever you want to do, you do it to your convenience.
Thank you, Mr.
Hey,
Chairman.
we got a few more coming. Let them come.
Yeah.
Anybody needs in the seats, just we'll tighten up or.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
The way this started out was our committee, the Committee for the Restore, the RAC, decided that we needed to finally hold a workshop. We've had many meetings ourselves, and we've had a lot of the public be there, but we needed to hold a workshop with you, the board, to get your input on the direction that we're going and that type of thing. But I did want to take just a couple of minutes, just for informational purposes, to talk a little bit about the pots, because I know there was some discussion on the port, there was discussion on how much money we had in pot 1 and those type things. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. For those of you, I'll be as brief as I can, because I know many of you probably know about the different pots, but there's basically 5 pots. The first 3 pots are what's important for us. The 4 and 5 we don't have a lot of control over, but the first 3 pots are important. Number 1 pot is the direct allocation. That was negotiated into the Restore Act. That money comes directly to the counties. And if we get the consent decree that is agreed upon right now from BP, that will wind up being, including the Transocean and BP money, close to $19 million for Gulf County in pot 1. So pot 1 can be used for environmental or economic development, and what it's going to be is what this at the end the board chooses to do. They're the ones with the final decisions. We as the RAC committee, and many of our RAC committee is here today, and I appreciate them being here. We need to hear what the board's input is to us. But at the end of the day, the Board of County Commissioners makes those decisions with public input. And public input is required all through this process. So you'll have a process now, you'll have a process going forward with the RAC committee meetings, and you'll have a chance even after the draft MYIP is developed. There'll be a 45-day period, and you'll have an opportunity, the public will have an opportunity to comment on that pot 1 funds. So pot 1 funds will come in over a 15-year period. So right now we have from the Transocean settlement about $2.8 million in our pot that's sitting in Treasury that's specific to Gulf County. With BP settlement, that'll put another $1 million, $1.2 million, $1.5 million into our pot each year. So what we were originally thinking, where we were going to get the money up front, and what was negotiated and went through the process, we're going to get it over a 15-year period, and that's what all the counties are having to do. That's what makes it so important that we take these pots and leverage these funds with the other pots and with other grant opportunities. So when we look at the port, and they're maybe needing another $40 million to go with the $20 million that the state's got, we've got to figure out how do we leverage this pot, if we even use any of this pot. I've heard some of the commissioners say they didn't want to use any of the pot 1 money on the port, but there's other pots. Let's go to pot 2. Pot 2 is basically the council pot. The council is made up of the 5 governors or their appointees, and then there's about 6 different agencies, federal agencies, from EPA to the Department of Agriculture. There's 4 or 5. I don't want to have a Rick Perry moment up here and not get them all, but there's about 5 different agencies, or 6 different agencies that make up the council. The council has already put out a list of what is proposed projects. Of that list, Gulf County actually has 2 that can affect us. Number 1 is a project that's environmentally sensitive, and it's the Money Bio project. There's about $400,000, and I've got some handouts up here that describe some of this. There's about 400,000 in that particular pot to do a design to protect the bay, St. Joseph Bay and Money Bio and Apalachicola Bay on the stormwater runoffs from the Money Bio region. So we're already getting funding from the different pots for environmental programs. So that's a good thing. Another one is an estuary program that's going to be stood up in the Florida Panhandle. They have estuary programs in the South. We don't have any in the Panhandle. So that's one of the proposals from the council. They're going through the public hearings right now. I think they had one in Panama City last week, had one in St. Pete. And so they're going through that right now. So we're hoping that that stands the test of the public hearings. We believe it will. We hope that they stand the estuary program up close to Gulf County, maybe in Bay or Franklin or Gulf, and we can be successful with that program to protect our bay. But the council pot is a pot that group actually administers, and it's another pot that we can access for Gulf County. Pot three is what we call the consortium pot, or what I call the consortium pot. It's a consortium of the 23 coastal counties in the state of Florida that's charged with writing a state expenditure plan for the state of Florida. The governor has to approve that state expenditure plan. So we're trying to work as closely as we can with DEP and with the governor's office to make sure that we get that state expenditure plan like it needs to be, so he can approve it and submit it to the council. One meeting that we just recently had was a pretty good meeting. The 23 counties met last week in St. Pete, and we've kind of agreed in a workshop. It has not been voted on because we were in a workshop, but we agreed that 50% of that particular money, and I think there's 260, and Brian correct me anytime that I'm wrong, I think there's about 260 something million in that particular pot. 50% would go divided amongst the 8 counties that were disproportionately affected in the Panhandle. That goes from Escambia to Wakulla. And 50% would be the other 15 that goes on down from Monroe right on up to Jefferson. So that was pretty much of a win for Gulf County, and here's why. If you do divide that evenly, and if we get that vote in our November deal, that will put another $18 million into Gulf County that we can leverage, that we can use for projects and that type of thing. So if you add that $18 million, you're up to close to $40 million, back to $40 million. So that was a win for Gulf County down there last week. As I've said, pot 4 and 5, we can't really do a whole lot with those. That's scientific research, and I think one other thing. But there is a couple other pots that I call pot 6. Well, one of them is NERDA. And I said I've got a handout here. They've already started selecting projects. We have about 4 or 5 projects in Gulf County. One of them is within the city. It's a city boat ramp. There's about $800,000 in that. We've got the Indian, we had the Indian Pass. We put it in the pier. We've got a pier that's going to be built on St. Joe Beach. It's about $1.3 million in that particular pot from NERDA. That's in the design project with DEP. DEP is administering that. We've got the Highland View boat ramp that we're going to do some work on. We've got Beacon Hill Park that's got over $500,000 for Beacon Hill Park. So NERDA money is another pot that we're getting things into Gulf County. And they in the settlement got about another $690 million for NERDA projects. So I look at over the next 10 years that they're still going to be doing NERDA projects, which is actually called early restoration money. So we're 5 years after the oil spill, but we're finally getting some of the NERDA projects. I think the biggest pot and the most important pot for us as far as economic development is a group called Triumph. Senator Gates 2 years ago set state legislation that any money coming into the state of Florida, that 75% would be spent in the 8 counties that were disproportionately affected. When they did the settlement, they put $2 billion into the state of Florida for economic development. That's where Florida was affected the most generally, was economics. Out of that $2 billion, these 8 get 75%. And that 75% is $1.5 billion over an 18-year period. They'll have some interest in that. I think that'll probably draw on for 30 years. That's a lot of money. They'll get Triumph will get $300 million up front, which should be in their coffers by next July. It's got to be put in their coffers by the legislature. Alan Bentz is the chair of the Triumph. There's 5 board members. All of them are from the Panhandle. And so the most important thing for us to do in the near future is protect that legislation. We certainly don't want the legislature to change that, but that's $300 million, and when we're talking about the port, that's the pot we need to get the port money out of. It's a huge pot of money. They want to do big projects. The port is a big project. They want to do regional projects. The port is a regional project. They want to have public-private partnerships. The port has a public-private partnership, so it fits right in the wheelhouse with Triumph. So we'll be working closely with them on the front. I want to introduce our consultants. We have Stella Wilson here and Brian Griffith. They're from Dewberry. They're hired for Gulf County to write our multi-year implementation plan. And before we access $1 out of pot one, we have to write this plan. We want to educate you a little bit on that plan, and I'm going to ask Brian or Stella or both to come up and describe where we're at in that process at some point. I think she's got a PowerPoint presentation, just a brief one. But most important thing for us is to make sure we leverage the dollars that we can leverage, and they are experts in that. They're our consultant that the county selected a few months ago. So Stella, if you want to come up, once we get through with that presentation, what the committee wanted to do is to hear from the Board of County Commissioners first on their thoughts and ideas of what they want to spend pot one money on. And so once they do that, then we'll put it back out to the public. If there's any comments or that type of thing or any questions, we'll certainly be available to answer any of those questions. So with that, I will turn it over to Brian Griffith.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope I meet his brief call. I'll put a little bit more into this, but I had the privilege of getting a chance to work with Warren when we were jointly at the Florida Association of Counties meeting in St. Pete last week, and then a little earlier this week on what his objectives really would be for success this evening. And it was largely to stem a dialogue about the process going forward, and we talked a bit about that. And in my estimation, the only way to have a really constructive dialogue is to have a really good grounding in what the process and processes of these can be. This, if there's a control that I could use, this is a highly animated.
Give me just 1 second. I will
Sure.
have that for you.
Yeah, I'll take the con, as it were. Little background. I hope I got my marching orders correct. I'm going to take that attitude about conversation right out from the beginning. So we're going to try to make this much less formal and really stop a bit and get into the process and possibly even handle some questions midstream to make sure everybody's playing along. Well, on my background, and I'll just start early. So you've heard the monies, they're often thrown out. They'll be thrown out by every county in the Gulf, and when I say in the Gulf, I mean every county and parish in the Gulf region, looking for that leveraging against the federal, more largely the federal, but not only the federal, but largely the federal framework. That's what I used to do for 25 years for the entire Gulf region. I was the lead for the Gulf of Mexico program. And that is a very complex environment, and for way too many years, leading up to Restore, frankly, the Gulf did not compete very well in the national picture. It didn't compete very well at all. When evaluated against the federal alliance and focus on the Chesapeake Bay or the upper Northeast, the Great Lakes, or the Pacific Northwest, we almost didn't even show up on the screen. There were a variety of reasons for that, and some of which I hope we avoid here, take the advantage here and avoid, and that is because the Gulf to the federal family just didn't represent the way that the processes were being run, didn't represent a good opportunity for success. They were often, and I'll use this term repeatedly, the approaches taken by the local and sometimes even the state government were just a little too boutique for the federal government and not enduring or long-lasting. And everybody has to have something to show in the end, right? Any federal program has to say, I improved this many bays, I got this many more road miles of resurfaced area from the Department of Transportation, I got all those things, I got to be able to deliver those. And this was a very hard region for it to deliver those results in. The reason I tell you this is I lived that story. I was on the front end. It was very agonizing we were referred to nationally as the meet you at the border states. Regionally, we're not a regional compact. The 5 Gulf states couldn't agree on the time of the day of the week. Seriously, I'm not kidding. And so as a consequence, it was always an embattlement, right? So it was too easy for the other regions to steal the attention away. Not that they were any different from the Gulf, because they really weren't, but they just figured the game out better. Really figured it out a lot better. So they created compacts where they wanted that attention from the federal government. They wanted the attention, like in California, to the water wars and those types of things. They wanted that attention. They wanted to hold it because that's where their resources were, right? And they did a really good job. Restore offers the Gulf region and Gulf County that opportunity. And it's coming right now, so the entire, so I was right there at the table, right? The entire framework of the federal government's main agency programs, the 6 that represent the council structure, which are departments and agencies, have now had their attention because of the incident and the effect of restore monies turned to here, whether they want to be here or not. So they're here right now. And that attention brings with it the opportunity to get into those leverageable programs like never before. Okay? So with the resources that Gulf County has, it will be whatever value they are, it will be a level of savviness taken in that approach to anchor those other resources so that they can be magnified 2 or 3 times the order of magnitude they currently exist at. So you should see at least that kind of result. And I'll take you a little further in that, and that's just for starters. The restore ought to be looked at as the catalyst by which to not make it an easy thing to spend out, be done with, and be gone, is to anchor them basically forever into the interest and the opportunities here. So let's see if I can operate this thing. So yeah, so I just want to, so our planning model, which you'll, if you come to a regional Restore Advisory Committee meeting here, our planning model really runs in 4 sections. And initially, and I'm going to dwell on this a lot, is the business plan. You really don't have anything without a business plan. But now you're chasing money. You hear the allocations, the years, and they're going to be paid out. That's not a plan, right? So the focus is really on developing a business plan, or in this particular case, what the federal government refers to as your multi-year implementation plan. But it can actually be broader, and I'll explain that. The support that I was telling you that the federal government didn't see before, it wants that community-based support. That's why I'm so happy to see this turnout this evening. It's actually amazing, because it's got to be your plan in the end, because it's going to be a slog getting all the way through it. But the opportunities are vast in terms of what it can bring to Gulf County. Underwriting of the financing and leveraging. Anybody could sit, it probably wouldn't take more than Michael to sit in the back room and figure out how to spend $19 million. That would not be that hard. Put it like that. So,
Put it on black.
It's what you take and do with that next, and that'll be the leveraging process I'll tell you a little bit about. And then the submission and implementation. It's just the process of moving through project by project the administration of the effect towards your goals. So let's go into this real quick, and I'm just going to, it starts with the identification of priority domains. Many of you may or may not have, at this point, recognized there was a preliminary needs assessment done. I'll use terms that are more germane to our business, but it parsed out the focus in Gulf County into what are the key action areas of focus and interest that you have. And they are domains for us because they become planning domains after that. Economy, environment, infrastructure, and community. And within these domains, there are a couple of 2 completely different models at work here for how to do these planning exercises. If you've watched the news, you will see both in play. One model is essentially to take $19 point something million, put it out there, have each one of you represent an idea, throw it against the wall, and see how many of them stick. That is not a good plan. But that is a plan that's being undertaken in other places. What I would submit to you, based on my experience in this area in the Gulf for so many decades now, is you really want to get it down to not the project level, you want to get it down to the what level. So if you looked at the economy in Gulf County over the last several years leading up to tonight, one of two things generally exist in each one of these areas. Something is offending your progress. It's a barrier that you can't get past. Or something is in the way of you actually greasing the track. So it might not be a problem, might be an issue, but you just haven't made an investment there, right? It's the key investment area. So in each one of these areas, you really have the same thing. In the Gulf region, we just had this compound, right? We had the BP oil spill, demolished much of the key tourism infrastructure for, at a period of time, it would come simultaneously into the heart of the recession and is just now coming out of it. We also had the environmental impacts, and then we're just, whether we like it or not, we're the target area for the poster child for what infrastructure resilience might mean in light of coastal climate vulnerability. I forget which day it was last week. I think it was Thursday. Everybody remembers Danny? Danny's projection on Thursday was here. Okay. Right here. I'm sorry, Erica, it was right here. Projection was coming dead down your throat. And those are just days coming. It's not a matter of if but when. So we have all this vulnerability. The point for using this metaphor, the bricks falling out here are those things not well suited in the foundation of where you're going in these four areas. They're not projects in and of themselves. They are, again, what is offending your progress, or what haven't you invested in that would be key to moving ahead. Projects come after that. You got to figure out what you're trying to accomplish, and then build the projects underneath them. If I'm making sense there. So that's the target process and design that we'll be administering with the county in Gulf. So the traditional, again, is any road will get you there. Not really. The one that you pave is the one that especially, I really want to come back and reemphasize this, especially to lock up those other federal program areas. You want them to be key partners. You got to be really, really solid in that approach. Again, as I said before, and you got to not be boutique. It's not just a way to spend project money down in small areas. It's got to be, what is it about? What is the construct that you're after? We have to solve a particular environmental issue that's actually eroding your economy. You have infrastructure issues that are actually natural, man-made and natural. Those are the ones that actually will resonate here in terms of those building block bricks. When we do this work, we look, life didn't start with Restore and certainly won't end with Restore. Gulf County has been at this, like all the counties, for some time. So we bore in and we're looking at all the studies. Been numerous studies on the port, numerous studies done on the environmental issues, numerous studies done after the 2008 renourishment of the beach, different dynamics and impacts there. There are studies. The last thing you want to do is just mine your money into recapitulating studies. We want to get in and we want to look at that work and figure out what story it represents. Does it key on the offending issues, or does it key on the investments not yet had, or one or both, and see if we can't ferret them out efficiently that way. I'll just point out that going all the way through the four domains. So here's what I want you to think about in that respect. This is a slide I did for some early developments right after Deepwater Horizon. But if you think about pre-Deepwater Horizon, like I said, life didn't just start in Gulf County. Life was going on here. Probably your tourism base pre-recession you could probably calculate it by percent growth. You had several aspects associated with your workforce development. There's been probably ups and downs there, as it has been in this area of the Gulf region. The environment had certain spikes and dips associated with what was going on in your community resilience as well. Post-Deepwater Horizon, we had a dip, clearly. I mean, it was more than a dip in some areas. It was almost tragic. We're in the multi-year implementation process right now, but again, this whole idea, how do you know you have the right multi-year implementation plan? It's because you want to bend this curve. You have somewhere you want to be in Gulf County, and that's what the federal family is going to look at. Does Gulf County know where it's going? Does it know, is it convicted to do certain things for which it could be assured to be a good business investment? Because on the federal side of that coin, it is a business decision. For every leveraged dollar that we will pursue with you, we have competitors. right? And their business plan is competing with your business plan. And they're going to look for that conviction of what do I get out of it? What does everybody get out of it? What does it represent in terms of outcomes? So, I mean, that's really bending the curve. You're here tonight. And like I said, the last thing that the federal family does, and you'll see this almost in every leverage program right now, is they want that test. Was this invented at a tabletop, down the street, or was this actually vetted and with the community involved? And boy, what a great sign this is this evening. And your Restore Committee has been wonderful to work with. But this has to be a think tank. Doesn't mean everybody gets their thing, because that's not what the think tank is about. Remember what I said, it's which ones of those bricks are missing in the pillars that you really need to key on. Because you don't have a limitless amount of resources. Like I said, it needs to be a savviness associated with the structure. So if you thought about it in that respect, and you're going to put those building blocks in, and I would offer to you early, as I'm looking at a crowd this size, because I've been in front of crowds this size and larger, I can't wait to write that $5,000 Walmart-like grant project application. I've not had this discussion with my leadership in the county, but I'm going to warn you away from that. That is not the best option. That certainly will not be the option that anchors the other leveraged funds. It's going to be a much more structured business plan than that. Where that $5,000 grant might be just exactly the right thing. It's because it's associated with that brick, solving that particular problem, not because it was just a top of the side. Many of you tonight here are probably here to know, okay, how does the process roll forward? What is going to happen in terms of a project proposal structure? We're a bit early, but recognizing how many folks would likely be here this evening, we wanted to delve into it a bit. And that is that there will be an online project application portal put up. There's a few features about this that the county, RAC, and the like have got to work out. I'll give you some for instances, a little useful in this process, we haven't done that yet, about the pros and cons, but at the Florida Association of Counties meeting last week, another unfinished piece of business as they thought about this. This exact same model, by the way, has to go on for the state. Okay? At the state level, they were wondering aloud with options as to whether they shouldn't compartmentalize pieces of these domains. Like, should a percentage go to economic? Should a percentage go to environment? Should a percentage go to workforce? Should a percentage go to community? There are pros and cons on both sides of that, but the point is it has to be a consensus-based process. And it changes, it obviously alters the outcomes a bit when you make those decisions. We will launch the submittal process. That submittal process, because some of the counties have been at this a while, have shown to be working. Obviously, in other counties, we're very familiar with the process. We built it. But it's a process whereby, again, it's structured to go after specific outcomes, specific objectives that the county is after. None of them are far enough along to tell you that the project list is X. They haven't been vetted that way. But once we get the projects in, we'll assess each project against the county's criteria. We'll release and evaluate the feedback to the committee. I'll be very open and transparent. And then we provide the committee, which is really the committee on behalf of, as far as they can take it, and ultimately the board of county commissioners, the calibration controls. Here is the real story. So if you can imagine, just sort of metaphorically, Restore in its finest form is going to run out of gas. You're going to identify the things that are offending, the things that could be done, the things that need to be done, and then you're going to apply 19-point-something million against it, right? It runs out of gas. And so as a consequence to where that gas would originally be run out of and all, this commission has to make that determination. And that's where the calibration comes in. Do they affect, do you effectively look at the dynamics between the economic and the environmental? Do we understand the leverage return on investment? All of those kinds of things. And we'll be providing those multiple scenario analyses. leveraging, I couldn't overstate how important, again, that is, because, like I said before, if I did an effective job, Gulf County, don't take this wrong, Gulf County was not on the same desktops 3 years ago that it is today in Washington, D.C. A lot of people don't even know where Gulf County was, much less Port St. Joe, okay, if they'd not vacationed here. Now they do, right? So here it is percolating on the table. So it's that investment group that we'll be focusing on, which has the potential to magnify your money. I'll give you any, for instance, that you like. You're dealing in the ag area, that's USDA. Everything that you have in Restore is leverageable against USDA. Any of your CDBG grants, which are very familiar to the county, all of those are leverageable with these resources. This is really key because your resources, my term, are magic money. Normally, in the truly competitive environment nationally, a competitor goes to one of these service agencies and says, I would like to compete in that arena for those leveraged funds, and I will try to guarantee you that I can provide the match. I'll try to guarantee I'll provide that match. Right? You have the ability to set that commitment aside here, which elevates your competitiveness dramatically on these leverageable funds. So I'm not going to. I guess I will do this only from the standpoint, I want to show you something, because this is a very important aspect of the way we run this. So again, using the bricks metaphor, the ones that are offending or investment advantages for you guys, when you scatter them across, remember what I said, do you do set-asides for economy, community, et cetera, or do you pit them all against each other? We'll assume right now we'll pit them all against each other for best impact on the county. When you run that scenario as the projects come in against the needs, you have to do a merger, and you're looking for the merger where they actually do merge, okay? Now this is what I said before, Restore has a cash value, and it also is time sensitive by year. You heard the allocations are spread over 15 years, but it has a cash value. It'll be applied. Here's the important thing. If you do this right, if we do this right, Restore doesn't cover it all. It can't, likely. I shouldn't say that so boldly up front, but it's likely not to be able to cover the final price tag for doing X, Y, and Z in Gulf County. That lies in the perimeter, right? And so as a consequence of that, because you've made those strategic anchor investments, we can actually marry that up with the other programs. And the point is this. Even when you see that list come out, the list is the projects, the multi-year implementation plans will be the projects that can be applied against your Pot 1 funds. Okay? But in doing the exercise, we'll know the other key projects as well. And the intent is to demonstrate to you here, we're working very hard on your priority projects, because the ones that go after the problem or the opportunity and solution will not be lost. There are no losers. That process. They might not have as clean and clear a path as Restore's money allocated annually each year to the county, but there are other pathways to that solution, and that's the other part of leveraging. So, I didn't mean to belabor this too long, but without understanding that process, at least at base, it really makes for an awkward question and answer session with the audience. So. I hope I did some justice to that. So I'd really kind of open it up to questions.
Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, before we open it up to questions for the board, I want to reiterate some of the things that Brian has said. We've got a lot of non-governmental organizations here. We've got the city commission here from Port St. Joe. There's a city representative from Weehawken. Thanks for being here, Tony. We have Port Authority representatives. We have workforce development representatives. We have tourist development representatives. We have the Economic Development Council. I appreciate all of y'all being here. This is key for us to get this thing right. This is an opportunity that we can't miss. And so what I need you to start thinking about, because we're getting closer and closer to this process, is how do you write your project that fits together with other monies, that puts more people on your team, whether it be the city and the county working together, whether it be an NGO working with somebody or whatever. You need to start thinking about your partners. Let me just give you an example for the port. For example, if I was the port and I was driving the train, I would work with St. Joe extensively because the monies through Triumph talks about public-private partnerships. St. Joe Company has the expertise to do some of the writing for you. They have the expertise to get more people in the game, whatever department that might be. I would start writing that. It doesn't have to be a full-fledged grant proposal, but what it has to do is be a proposal that's pretty precise. And the more precise that proposal is, and the more partners that you're going to have, the more opportunities that you're going to have to get that project funded. So I just wanted, that was the reasoning behind me trying to get everybody here from the I hadn't seen Bill Kennedy, but from the CRA to the TDC, to the EDC, to the cities. I wanted everybody here just to, if you don't hear anything else, you hear this. If you've got a project, start working on that project and start putting some partners together with that. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I did want to,
You gonna use this anymore?
no, we're done.
Yeah, let's get this.
Yeah. I know you're in a hurry. With that, I think what the committee wanted to hear is an expression from the board. And what do you see us focusing on? Because we don't want to run a direction that is not a direction that you even want us running. We want to hear your comments, what you think the monies ought to be spent for, and those type things. So, Mr. Chairman, I'll open it up towards that, and then at the end, if anybody in the audience has any questions, we'd certainly do that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Yeager. And Brian, thank you, and Stella for coming over and being with us today. Let me turn here to our other commissioners, and Commissioner Brian, would you like to take the lead on this, or we'll go with Commissioner McLemore? It doesn't matter here.
It looks like he's getting ready.
All right, come on.
Yeah.
Time's money to you. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm ready. I can't think personally of a better way to spend BP dollars other than to pump it back into our water systems. And I'm talking the bays. I'm talking the Apalachicola River system. Our town has become a tourism town. We don't have enough boat ramps or boat launch areas in the county to take care of the place. So I would like to see this board look at going out, purchasing some boat ramp properties on both ends of the county to expand in that area. Fishing piers, I'm all about all that stuff. If it's water, I'm all about it.
Land acquisition is an opportunity.
Come on, Commissioner.
I like what Brian and Stella and our Restore Committee, I like the work that has been done. And I don't want to give a narrow answer, which is contrary to exactly what has just been laid out to us. I do think that obviously under the environmental and also economic, the stormwater is a big issue in our county, and I would like to see us look at stormwater management on a countywide plan. And I think that would tick off a lot of the boxes. But I like the process, and I like that we are open to the public here, and that we have this many people here that are willing to be involved. And like you have said, Mr. Yeager, I almost called you, that to put your plan together to fit within the framework that our consultants have created. This is a great opportunity for our community. And I would like to see us use this money to bring in additional funds and to have an impact that will last for years and decades to come for Gulf County. So I'm a little bit hesitant to define specific areas at this point.
Yes, sir. I think we got a fine team, Mr. Yeager, and I think you're going to do a fantastic job. So, like Commissioner Bryan said, I'm on board with, with a lot of what the other commissioners pretty much gonna bring to the table, when the funding starts coming in. But like I say, hopefully we can, we'll get some economic, stuff going in Gulf County and, bring some people into, this county, help, restore our economy and, get some stuff done right here. And I agree with, Commissioner McLemore. If he wanna, I'm all about the water, the waterways also. So if we can help, get some more boat ramps and, get some more people in this county, I'm on board with it.
May I go back? Just one more minute. Did I understand this correctly, that with economic development, that we could actually take some of the monies and go out and help some of these smaller business
Yes.
grow,
Yes.
or whatever?
Here's, I think, the way that some of that would work, is they would partner with an entity. They would partner with a city or county that might have the infrastructure that they're needing extended out to their, whatever they're doing something. And partner with that city and write a proposal based on their projections of jobs and those type of things, because the more projections that you can have on job commitments and those type of things, the better that thing's going to score. But on the private side, where you've got a private entity, I would say to partner with certain cities, counties.
Yeah, and I would support that 100%. I mean, we take these smaller businesses and may not have but 2 or 3 employees, but if we get enough of them, that's building our economy up. So I think we really need to look at that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's not about me, it's about you. It's about the people of Gulf County. Now, we've got a good team here. Let's don't fumble the ball or strike out here. Let's work together. This is a project for Gulf County. This is, we can make it what it is. And we're going to stay informed. That's the part of it. Everyone knows Warren Yeager. Everyone knows him he's known throughout the county. So we've got a good contact person here that's going to help with us. And Brian and Stella over here, we brought them on with Dewberry. And I don't know how many of we're talking about the 5 states, that's Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. I don't know how many states, if you represent other states. I don't know that. But anyway, we've got a good team here for Gulf County. We bed them all out and came up with Dewberry, and they're going to work to fight for you. So if we can get on board, we can hopefully one day everybody can have good water, good sewer, good roads. We can help the economy of the people, the small business people. It seems like our government's trying to kill all of our small business people, and we can regenerate. We can see some building going on here. We got room for expansion. I think what happened there? Sound like something popped. No. Anyway, right now, Florida being the 3rd largest state in the United States population-wise, and it's some of the fact meetings, and by 2030, somewhere along in there, we're going to hit, right now we're at 19 million. They showed maps of us of like 38 million people in this state, and we still got some room, so Florida is growing. We're lucky in the fact that we do not have a state income tax, and the economy's turning around here. But we want to get Gulf County turned around. We can't do it bickering. We all got to get together, put everything to one side, and let's work and let's put this county on the map and say we can look back into our grandchildren and say, hey, these people played a part in helping us get where we at. And Warren, I know this board's behind you. I am, and I'm sure I know the other commissioners are. And let's go get this thing. Let's go get it. We'll have some more of these meetings. You have anything?
The only other thing I would say is we have these committee meetings almost once
Yes.
a month. They're advertised. It's open to the public. It's open to the commission.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about sunshine. It's advertised. So
Exactly.
anybody that wants to attend that,
All right.
they're welcome to it.
All right. Anything else? Does anyone in the audience have anything, a comment? Sure.
I was just
You want to come up, if you would, please. Or either one. It doesn't matter, Sheriff.
ask Brian,
Sure.
offer up I did a leveraging in this county, with partners in this county to build a facility and see if this is what you're talking about. I built a 17,000 square foot early child development facility, I started out with $300,000 in congressional earmarked dollars. I had no money. And St. Joe Company donated me 2.5 acres of land. I got $864,000 in grant dollars. And those combinations, I didn't ever have it all at one time. One thing leveraged another. That's what you're talking about. It took those the project, and then I went to the city. We got the property, and we needed the road to the city. I mean, to the facility. And so when I got all that together, then I got a loan at a very low rate with USDA. So all those partners, the project, I started out with $300,000 earmarked in congressional earmarked dollars, was a $5 million project. I could not get a CDBG grant, but I partnered with the city, and they let me apply for it, and we got a $700,000 grant. No, didn't cost me anything but the legwork. So that.
That example is exactly analogous.
Is that-
You had the money on the earmark, which was the catalyst.
It was.
Built everything else on
It
it.
was.
You have exactly the same scenario occurring in Restore.
But everybody in this municipality had something to do with it, because we had to annex the property from the county to the city to make that work. So it can happen.
Yes,
So,
ma'am, yeah.
and it would not have happened without the coordination of these city municipalities and counties. So just wanted to.
That's an
That's
exactly
what you're
perfect
talking about,
example.
leveraging.
Thank you, Ms. Gaskin, and I touched on this earlier. Just what she said, we can take this money and some of that money, we can create a lot of money by working it the way it's supposed to be. And just like you did, Sharon, I know I was right along when you were taking on all these projects, and I know you're a fighter. You don't give up. That's one thing about it.
That took 6 years.
How you can work it and make it
But
work.
I wrote a business plan too, just like you did. Here, I mean, you have got to have that in place.
How to do it. Anyone else? Before we adjourn, let me bring to your attention and Mark, it's so good to see these people, all these people out here today, you people. On the 28th of September at 5 o'clock, our state senator, Bill Munford, and our state representative, Halsey Beshears, will be right here and answer any questions. So mark it on your calendar. Let's come out and give them a good Gulf County welcome, and anything you want to air with them or questions, that's their purpose of coming here to this community. It'll be on the 28th of September at 5 o'clock Eastern Time right here. Anyone else? Have a safe trip home. Brian, y'all have a safe trip back to the great state of Mississippi. Am I correct there? All right, great. Thank you.
Don, good to see you.